Hello, I am Turtle, and here is what I have to tell today. I hope you have been enjoying the Dollar Store General Saga. Here is part 3. Hey there everyone, it's me again. It's been about... I don't know how long since my last update, and I've made some new discoveries since. So when I went through the door, I had a backpack, my journal and a charger with a butt. I was wearing a fresh pair of basketball shorts, some flip-flops and a shirt for some sports team or another. I had also stuck a few undestroyed bits of food in the backpack, and as I passed through the room, I closed my eyes and prayed I would come out in my world. No such luck, but I did step out into a brand new Dollar General beyond. The shelves were upright, the floor may not have gleamed, but it was clean, and the shelves and coolers were stocked for another day of business. Stranger still was the change that came over me. When I walked through, I had been holding the straps of my backpack, praying under my breath for escape. But as I walked in, my hands suddenly grabbed nothing, and I felt jeans on my legs and boots on my feet again. I looked down to find my work shirt, the logo for Rocco's Subs across the front, and took inventory of myself before going on. Discovery 4. You can't take things with you from other Dollar Generals. Only the things I brought into the Dollar General beyond stayed with me when I traveled. Traveling is what I have called it when I go into the bathroom and step into a new Dollar General beyond. My phone, my wallet, my work ID, the 27 cents I had from something earlier that day, and the granola I had crumpled up in my back pocket travel with me. Anything I try to bring through from other DGBs does not come with me. It's not a big problem. I can get more charges or supplies when I get there, but it's a little jarring to feel the backpack disappear off your back. As such, I have started keeping my journal here on my phone, since the words and notes seem to come along with me too. This brings us to the next thing. Discovery 5. The stores reset themselves when you travel. The DGB I walked into looked similar to the one I had left, and the stock was back and in place. I say similar because the inflatables are gone in favor of autumn items. There's decorative pumpkins on the seasonal shelves. There are fall items throughout the store, and many of the coffee drinks now have pumpkin spice in their midst. Everything else is the same, but it's like the store goes through little changes when you go to a new one. I still couldn't leave. The doors refused to open, but the lights were on and the music was still playing, so that's not too bad. Plus, I like pumpkin spice, so that's not a big problem. This time around I started experimenting a bit with the door. I now realized that the sign I had made on the first night hadn't just gone away. When I passed back through the bathroom door, I had gone into a new DGB, and the sign hadn't existed there yet. I didn't bother to put one up this time, not really wanting to attract the attention of whatever might be out there anyway. I took note of my food, deciding how much I'd have before I had to move again, and figured I had about 2 months of food on hand as long as I didn't go buck wild. I found some bedding and made myself a little bed area, and then I set to experimenting. I started by throwing things through the door. It started with action figures. I probably tossed about 24 army men through the door before realizing I had no way to see if I could get them back. So I went to the dental aisle and got some floss, and that's when I discovered I didn't have to get them back. There was a small pile of loose army men lying on the floor of the toy aisle, just hanging out as if they had tumbled there from nowhere. The other store had rejected them, sending them back to their point of origin, and I looked at the dental floss dubiously. I shrugged. It was for science after all. I hooked it to the little base of the soldier and tossed it in. The army man disappeared into the space, and the dental floss kept spooling out as the greedy doorway to the whole box of minty rope. It came out quickly, running out fast enough to make me think I might see smoke, and when the spool jerked as it hit the end, the little box fell out of my hand. It slid across the ground and went in too. I watched the door for a few seconds before going to see if both had gone back to their point of origin. Sure enough, the army man was in the toy aisle, and the floss was in a pile on the dental aisle with the box beneath it. I picked up the dental floss and went to look for other things to throw through the doorway. I didn't really have anything living besides me, and I knew I could go through the portal. I settled for some bananas, but they too came back. Same with other fruits, but I had figured they would. Liquids were the same. The oil I splashed through the portal made a huge mess on the floor when it tried to go back, and I stopped after that. Nothing could go through the door other than me. Understood. That was day 8. On day 9, I looked at the data. I had to see what it all meant. The only thing I really knew about this place was that A. I couldn't leave B. I could only go to copies of the same Dollar General C. Some of those copies were a little different but still similar. And D. Only I could go between the places in E. There was something else that could go between those places. It wasn't a lot to go by, but it was something. This place had rules, and rules were something I could work with. I spent a few days in that particular store, grabbing things at random and throwing them in to make sure the rules were constant. In the end, everything came back. Nothing was immune to the rules except for me. I looked for living things to throw in, but it appeared I was the only thing that lived here, which was concerning. Most stores try to keep themselves clean, but inevitably there will be bugs or even rats in a store. I checked under every shelf, in every corner, and behind every box and bag, but I couldn't find any of the usual signs of pests. No mouse crap, no spider webs, no roach bodies, no nothing. Maybe that was part of it too. I didn't know, but I made a note of it. Discover 6. There are no pests in the Dollar General beyond. After that, I decided I had done all I could do here. What else was I going to do in this store? What was I going to do in any other store for that matter? I didn't know, but I realized that staying wasn't going to get me anywhere. I started to pack a few things, but realized the futility. It would all just disappear when I went, but I did do something before moving on. I went and grabbed a permanent marker from the stationery section and drew a big letter B on the floor by the front door. I didn't know if it did, but if I ever rolled back through a store I had already been to, I wanted to be able to tell. That done, I stepped through the bathroom and into another Dollar General. It wasn't mine either though. The store looked the same, but all the products were in a foreign language. I had taken Spanish in high school, but whatever the language was, it wasn't that. I thought it might be one of the Middle Eastern languages. I'd played enough Call of Duty and seen enough street graffiti to find it familiar but still unknown. Some of the food was different too. There were more regional cuisines, flatbreads, and strange meats, and the music playing overhead was something best described as pop with yelling. The automatic doors had also been replaced with a roll-down grate, and the grate was secured as if for the night. I ate a little of the food, the stuff that I didn't need to cook, and drew a big C on the floor near the doors before moving on again. I did this for a while, not really sure how long I was traveling, but I left my signs behind. Some of the stores were set for different holidays. Some of them were in different languages. A couple of them had weird alien goods that I had no idea what were, and I moved on from these quickly. Some looked to be selling human meat and pieces of people. In some there was music, in some there was silence. In one the lights were black lights. In another the floor was lit up and the ceiling was not. Some of the music was just static. In the store that sold human meat, the music was just the same screaming again and again. In all of them, I left a letter. In all of them, I hoped to find my way home and didn't. This was exciting at first. I was exploring unfound territory and seeing things that no one had ever seen before. I was a pioneer, a traveler, and I found myself filled with wonder as I hoped this trip would be my last. The different stores were cool, and I was never scared of what I saw. The rule had always been that I was the only living thing here. The rule had always been that there was nothing in any of these places that would hurt me. I had put the creature out of my mind, thought perhaps I had dreamed it, and as time went by, I couldn't tell you how long I spent just going from one to the next to the next. In some I spent days, in others I spent minutes. When I was tired, I slept. When I was hungry, I ate. When I had to go, I went. It wasn't until I drew a Z on the ground of a particular Dollar General, one with a strange mixture of French and Spanish products that all seemed to be made of lamb meat, that I realized how long I had been doing this. This was the 26th one I had been to. I had been going straight through many of them, and I had yet to see anything beyond the front door other than the murk of night of darkness or whatever. I hadn't found anyone else either, and that was beginning to worry me. I also hadn't run back over any of my letters, which was less worrisome, since it meant that there might not be an end to these stores. I found I'd been looking at the Z on the floor for several minutes before shaking it off and heading back for the bathroom. Nothing to do now but carry on. It would be another 7 stores before my ideas of being alone were challenged. The letters had replaced my days by then. I could have no more told you how long I had been here than I could have told you who the King of Spain was. I had begun leaving double letters after the Z, and I figured that at some point I would have to leave triple and quadruple. I tried to sleep as little as possible, keeping moving until I had to stop, and I was yawning as I went into a store I was already thinking of as FF. I walked into a familiar scene, though I knew it wasn't the place I'd thought it was. The store was wrecked, and it was the first one I had seen out of order since the store I had trashed. I wondered if I had come back full circle, but one look at the shelves was enough to tell me I hadn't done this. All the food was labeled in a strange language that I had no clue how to read, and the doors looked like an elevator, the metal doors firmly closed. As I moved about the store, I felt like something was watching me, and I found myself turning quickly as I tried to catch sight of it. It was the first movement I had seen outside my own as I walked past a mirror. It made me paranoid to feel something watching me, and I made a meandering path towards automotive so I could find something to swing if it came after me. The lights in the back hung down by broken chains, and as they flickered, I saw what I was after. The 4-way lug wasn't a perfect weapon, But as the careful, furtive movement I'd been seeing suddenly turned into a wild and stunted charge, I gripped it tightly. I turned suddenly, smashing it into whatever was coming for me. But as I lifted it to swing again, I felt my fingers grow weak. It was a person. It was a human, at least I thought it was. He was an old man, shirtless and hunched, and his skin looked tight as it clung to his ribs. He has clearly not been eating enough, and he lifted his stick-thin arms as he tried to defend himself from me. However long he had been here, he had lost the ability to speak in something recognizable. He sputtered and chirped, making something like animal noises as he held his bleeding head and moaned in pain. I didn't wait for him to get his wits about him. I dropped the wrench and took off, sprinting for the bathroom as I leaped through the door and into a new Dollar General beyond. This one had flowers, and Mother's Day decorations festooned every end cap, but all I could do was lay there and pull my knees to my chest. I had seen another person. I had attacked the only other person I had found. Well, technically he had tried to attack me first, but I was still coming to terms with what had happened as I tried to get myself together. The food here was normal, and as I ate, I pinned this addition to my journal. The notes here are all I have to prove I'm not going crazy. It seems there are others here, though they don't seem very friendly. I've already marked this store as GG, and I'm preparing to take a rest for a little while before proceeding on. I don't know what else I'll find out there, but I still remain hopeful that it will be a way out. I'll keep you posted. Pray for me. I still hope to come out of this alive. That was part 3. If you are enjoying this series, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Leave a comment with any future thread ideas I should cover, and check out part 4 to this series. Signing off, Turtle Tells.